Hey, what's going on guys? This is Jake at thatfitfriend.com and today I'll be reviewing the Tolos Canvas High in both the barefoot and the transition options. I'm going to make this into one singular video and talk about both along the way. So 3 things to like with the Canvas High is number 1, look, if you like Converse and you have always longed for a wider option, even in the wide option of Converse, these are going to be a great hit for you because this is a wide Converse. With the Tolos Canvas High, you just have a much more anatomical fit with the toe box. As you can see, there's a lot more space here in the forefoot of the Tolos model to really splay those toes, and the midfoot isn't nearly as aggressive. So if you have always longed for just having an overall wider shaped Converse-esque shoe that comes in a nice clean canvas upper, this can be a great option to go with. The second thing to like with this shoe is that there are 2 options to go with. And this will be a pro with my Soleil review as well, but with this shoe, you have a barefoot option and a transitional option. The barefoot option has a stack height that sits around 7 millimeters. So if you're somebody who loves lifting in Converse, and let's say you're a power lifter, or let's say you're somebody who's focused on strength, and you wanna get as close to the ground as possible, that's where you'd wanna go for the barefoot option for the gym. It's gonna give you a closer to the ground feel with its width, it's gonna be awesome, and this outsole grips really well. And that also goes for folks who are just acclimated to barefoot shoes and also just want a high top shoe that looks a little bit more clean for daily wear and want a lot of ground feel. The transitional option can be great because it does have a built-in midsole, so you're gonna have a little bit more foot protection. So if you're brand new in the gym into barefoot shoes and you love Converse and you do want good stability but you want a wider fit, that's where the transitional can make a lot of sense. They also make a lot of sense for daily driving when you're not necessarily super acclimated to barefoot shoes. And let's say you're walking a lot in the city or whatnot, or on your commute, this can be a good option to go with and it gives you a little bit more forgiveness. The third thing to like with the Canvas High is just their overall clean appearance. So I personally love that Tolos did not stick a ton of branding on this shoe. You have some on the tongue and then some back here on the lateral heel, but outside of that, you really don't have a ton of branding. And if you want something that just looks very toned down and sleek that you can dress up, I like that. I don't personally love having the Converse branding on my high top Converse shoes, so I'm stoked the Tolos kept the branding down. And then also just as like an added niche individual pro that I like, I appreciate that with this model, I can knot the ends of the laces and keep this loose and slide my foot in and not have a ton of issues. Sometimes in my Converse when doing this, it's still tough to get my foot in, but that's not really the case with this. So what I've been doing, just to give you guys context, is for the barefoot option, I leave it a little bit loose and I'll just leave it loose for my training sessions. And then for the transitional, I will lace this up if I want a bit more support throughout my day. But now let's talk about a couple of cons that come along with this shoe. So overall, these shoes have been pretty solid, but there are 2 cons that I could see folks having with them. Number 1, if you're like me and you like to wear your shoe a little bit more loose, there isn't a tongue gusset on this model, and I think if we had another loop here on the tongue would stay in place a little bit more, but it can slide at times, so generally speaking, like if I'm wearing this model out and about and it's loose or just training in them, this tongue will start to slide laterally. Not the biggest deal, and it's kind of to be expected in high top shoes that don't have any form of like really good tongue security, especially when wearing them loose, but just food for thought there. If you're somebody who's really particular about your tongue and whatnot, when it's laced, it's not really an issue, it's just for this context when you wear them loose. A second con that I could see folks having with the shoe is that they don't come with separate insoles. So if you are somebody who needs a little bit more cushion under the foot in both the transitional and the barefoot option, you will want to add in your own insoles. So pull those from other barefoot shoes or other shoes that you have. That will give you a little bit more ride comfort. So not really a knock on the shoe per se, but there isn't as much variance when it comes to just the overall ride comfort from this shoe. In the Tolos Archetype 2.0, we had the separate insole. In the 1.0, we did not. So it looks like Tolos went back to not adding that insole in. So just food for thought there before you buy. If you like a little bit more cushion in your shoes or just a little bit more foam and like a little light foam under the foot, you will want to add in your own insole when you cop the Canvas Highs. To break down the performance of the Canvas High, I'll discuss how they do for lifting and just general daily wear. I'm not obviously going to talk about them for cross training or running because I don't use them for that, so why would I speak to that? But from a lifting context, I have really enjoyed this shoe, and now that is for 2 particular reasons. Number 1, the overall flexibility is awesome. It flexes a lot better than a Converse when you're getting up on doing single leg work or squat movements. You get a nice flex up here in the forefoot. I'm happy that Tolos only used this toe cap around the very end of the toe, so it doesn't wrap a ton. I don't love the Converse toe cap because it can feel just a little bit chunky, and if you exceed that shoe's width, it can feel a little bit limiting, especially on that pinky toe. So from a flexibility standpoint and just overall functionality for strength work and hypertrophy work, that's where this shoe is going to excel. I also like that I can wear it a little bit loose. That's just from a style standpoint. I like that when I'm doing like a bro-y hypertrophy day. I'll wear these a little bit loose and just clunk around the gym and whatnot and get it done. The second thing to like with the shoe when it comes to lifting is the grip. The outsole tread in this model is awesome. It's a little bit more aggressive with the lug patterns compared to the Archetype 1.0 and 2.0, but the rubber has a lot more bite to it. So if you're a power lifter, if you're somebody who needs max grip for sumo deads or for benching, I think you will really enjoy the outsole grip that comes along in the Canvas High. Personally, it is just way better than Converse, which can be prone to fading because these are classified as slippers when they get imported in. That's why they keep them fuzzy underneath. It's not a full rubber outsole, so it classifies the shoe a little bit differently. These have full rubber outsoles. You're not gonna have this tread fade super quick. So I personally love that from a lifting context. And again, if you want max ground feel, go with the barefoot option. If you want a little bit more midsole, but a good amount of stability still, the transitional will be a really great bet for you. From a daily wear context, I've enjoyed this shoe. The overall fit and width is awesome. The outsole grip has been super stellar on different surfaces, and it's holding up really well. I don't think these are gonna break down super quick. The lugs are a little bit more dense and a bit deeper with their construction. So for daily wear, I think this shoe will be awesome. And I also just really enjoy that there's not a lot of branding and that I can tighten them or wear them loose and they look pretty dang good. So overall, the Canvas High has been a really solid shoe. It delivers on what you want out of a high top canvas shoe. It's relatively low frills. There's not a ton of new tech in it, but it hits all of the boxes I think we want when it comes to a wider fitting shoe that delivers that OG athletic shoe Converse-esque feel. All right, so now who should buy the Tolos Canvas High? Number one, if you love Converse, but you've always longed for them to be wider and you found the wide option not wide enough, trust me, just try out the Canvas High. I think you're going to love it. Number two, if you're somebody who is new to barefoot shoes and you want a high top shoe that has that classic Converse look, go with the transition option. This can be a great shoe to go with. There are very, very, very few shoes that really tick that niche of giving you ground feel but with a light midsole to help give you foot protection. So go with the transition option if that's you. And then number three, if you're a lifter who's primarily focused on strength, or if you're a power lifter, go with the Canvas High and the barefoot option. You're gonna get a lot of ground feel. The overall lockdown is pretty dang solid in this shoe, and the toe box width is awesome for toe splay. Now, who should pass on this shoe? Number one, if you have an excessively low volume foot and a narrower foot, these might actually be just a little bit too spacious for you. So definitely keep that in mind, or reach out to Tolos before you buy to confirm if they'll work for you. And then number two, if you're somebody who likes a little bit more ankle support, remember that this is similar to a Converse. You're not gonna have that in this shoe, so just keep that in mind before you buy. You can tighten these up and it will help a bunch, but that will be food for thought there for folks who do like a lot more ankle support for their lifting and they're looking for a high top shoe. In that event, you may want to go with something like a Van Skate High or an option like that that has a little bit more bulk to the boot and ankle. All right, so when it comes to sizing and fit in the Canvas High, it's gonna be a little bit interesting, I think, for different foot anatomies. So personally, I went up a half size in this shoe and I've really enjoyed their fit. But talking to Evan, the founder of Tolos, we've gone back and forth, and he has language that the Canvas High has been fitting a bit more true to size compared to the Soleil, which I'll talk about that also in my Soleil review. But that said, if you have a narrow, medium, and wider foot, so think E to double E, true to size should be a good call in the Canvas High. If you have a 3E or 4E foot width, you may want to go up a half size, but when in doubt on this one, I would say reach out to Tolos just because they will fit differently compared to the Archetype 1 and 2. If you've worn those shoes, it's just an overall different shape and feel, so you will want to reach out to them if you're kind of on the fence and you're not really sure which size to go with, or you could drop a comment down below and I could try to suggest based off of what you're wearing now and your foot anatomy, etc. So that said, true to size for most, half size up for some. All right, so now let's cover the weight, heel toe drop, and insole in the barefoot Canvas High and the transition Canvas High. And again, these are both size 10.5 US men's. For my barefoot option here, we have a weight of 10.50 ounces. And then over here in my transition option, we have a weight of 12.60 ounces. The heel toe drop of both of these shoes sits at 0 millimeters. The stack for the barefoot sits around 7 millimeters, and then for the transition around 14. And then once again, both of these shoes don't come with removable insoles, so you will want to have your own put in if you want a little bit more foam under the foot. All right, so now let's break down the construction of the Canvas High. Now this is the barefoot option, this is the transition. I will talk about about the midsole in this model as we go. But up here on the forefoot, you have a rubber toe cap. Again, it's a little bit more abbreviated than what Converse uses. I believe Evan from Tolos language that he wanted more flex in the toe, which I personally like, while still getting protection and durability to protect this canvas. So I think that was a good move on his end. We have a full canvas upper that runs throughout the forefoot, midfoot, and heel. It is rather simplistic in its construction. It has double stitching, which is nice. You got some Tolos branding back here on the heel that you can't really see. And then looking at the midfoot, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 eyelets that go up. And then the tongue itself does have a bit of cushion to it, but it's also made with a canvas. And again, there isn't really a higher gusset in this shoe, and we have a single loop here for security. Looking at the outsole of this shoe, you have a full rubber outsole that does extend up the sides of the shoe. So that does help give you a little bit more lockdown when wearing this shoe. And again, this outsole is a little bit deeper with its tread patterning compared to the Archetype 1.0 and 2.0. So looking at the transition shoe, what's different with it? We have a built-in midsole. So this is gonna give you a little bit more stack and comfort for your ride. Now this midsole isn't super plush and soft. So don't think that this midsole is gonna randomly make this shoe super compressive or soft. It does have a denser ride as well, but it does give you more foot protection. Once again, neither of these shoes have removable insoles, but if you have additional questions on the constructions of the Canvas High Barefoot or Transition, drop a comment down below. All right, y'all, that wraps up my review of the Tolos Canvas High, Barefoot, and Transition option. Honestly, I've enjoyed this shoe. It delivers what you want for this type of model, and if you're after a shoe that's wider than a Converse, that gives you more stability for just daily wear, but also gym performance, these can be great options to go with. Even the Transition option is more stable than a Converse option. But if you have additional questions on either of these shoes, drop a comment down below or hit me up on Instagram, whichever you prefer. And as always, y'all, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. Peace.